Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode with myself, Oliver Hill, here to help you become a better version of yourself today. And today I'm proudly sporting a little bit of TNC merchandise. So, for all those Norwich City fans that'll be listening in, and this isn't great for people on audio earlier, audio only, but I've got a white t-shirt on with Borgia signs in the style of an Estrella bottle of beer. For Norwich City fans, you'll understand what that is. And so a little shout out to Jack and Chris Reeve at Talk Norwich City for the great work they've done this season, covering what has been a pretty dreadful season in many ways. Although many clubs looking on will be confused by that because we ended up in the playoffs, but it's been hard work. So anyway, great work, lovely bit of merch there. There's probably still a few t-shirts available if Norwich fans want them. Anyway, on to the episode, and whilst this will remain relevant over time, it is a little bit time specific because only yesterday it was announced in the UK that we're going to have a general election on the 4th of July. And do not worry, I am not interested in talking about politics. But it got me thinking, what's a lesson that I can sort of teach people, or what's a topic that I could talk about that I think people might find useful? And I thought it best to start with how I don't really understand politics, not just the specifics of how it works, but I've never really understood how you can have a sort of rigid, specific allegiance to one side or the other. Because for me, it's about taking what's relevant for you. It's about understanding the benefits for you, your friends, your family, your nearest and dearest. It's very, very unlikely in many, if any cases, that one size fits all. We've heard about this many times. Therefore, what I thought was really useful is to divert away from the politics thing and just think about how we approach everything. Excuse me, a little bit of hay fever hanging over. And how guilty are we sometimes of seeing a new shiny thing and rolling with it and just going with that one thing rather than thinking, oh, new shiny thing, interesting, that's got me thinking. That's got me thinking that we could do that. What other options are there out there? Now, I know there will be some people listening who'll be like, well, yeah, of course you do that. You'll be shocked to learn then in that case that the vast majority of people don't think like that. They'll see the new shiny thing and think that's a great idea, or they'll go to someone that they've always used before for something because it's always worked before without really checking to see if it's the right thing for them. And what we find is people get a long way down the line before they begin to realize, or perhaps somebody else draws their attention to it, that this isn't really working. And the reason we've done it is the good old fashioned, because that's the way we've always done it, or we've always used this company, or that's just the way I am, or oh, it would be too hard to change. All these horrible excuse words come out, which are absolute BS. Um, and I just thought that a political analogy is perfect because I've watched a few clips of things, and it's quite interesting to see how many people are undecided, and they have flip flopped. They aren't aligned to one party. They've talked about voting for one year and one and another. Well, not a year, but one over a cycle. And I thought that's really interesting. There are people out there who potentially are a bit more considered about the choices they make. I take it again, if you're buying stuff from contractors, how many times do people not get enough quotes from different companies? They kind of want things now and they get something that seems reasonable, or they go to someone who did a great job for them before, and that's great. That's great. I don't want to crap on that idea, but also, what about other options? Maybe there are things out there that are better. And I can think of many times in my life where I've done something and I've got something that I'm happy with, or I've bought something I'm happy with, and then I come across something else which is an improvement on that, or an advancement on that. And this is something that's really powerful in the coaching work that I do. I don't stand still. I've had 8 years now of working as a coach. Well, eight years in next month in June. And if I was still doing what I did when I opened the doors of this business back in June 2016, we wouldn't be making the strides we are now. But A tool that I still used back then in day one is still used today. So I use something called Clifton Strengths, but that was the only real trick I had back in those days. But over time, I've learned so many more things that I can start passing on. I've begun to realize the things that clients need, and I've been able to change certain things. I've found great reading content, great listening content. I've found different techniques that are valuable to me, and I've passed them on to clients, or that other clients have sort of brought up within sessions with myself. So it's not about one size fits all. It's not about just sticking with the status quo. It's not about just continuously doing the same thing over and over again. And I just thought right now, when people's minds are ticking over, potentially on a political persuasion that they're going to vote the same way they always have, that's fine. I have no interest. I genuinely have no interest. I can't stress how much I haven't. But what I thought is really good time to get people to pivot and challenge their thinking in general terms. How many things do you do daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and just do it as regular as clockwork? I'm not saying don't do it. I am asking you to think about that, to review it. Is that the right way to continue to do things? Could there be better ways out there that we haven't explored yet? Is this the most sensible continuation? Is this the most efficient way to do things? If I'm doing it weekly, could it be monthly? If I'm doing it monthly, should it be weekly? Blum, blum, blum. Challenge yourself. Don't just keep doing the things you've always done because that's the way you've always done them. Because it's incredibly dangerous. It does not mean you have to change. Really important. I'm not beating the drum for change's sake. There's a lot of that rubbish that goes on as well. If it's not broken, don't fix it. That whole thing. Yeah, I can throw a cliche after cliche out here. But if you're just sitting back and just letting things go in the way that you've always done, there's a risk you'll be left behind. There's a risk you'll be making expensive mistakes. There's a risk that you aren't getting the benefits that you could be. And I can certainly speak from 8 years of perfecting what I do. And in 8 years' time, it'll probably still be a lot more different than what it is now because new things will come out, new technologies, new ideas, and so forth. But we have moved at Hill Coaching Company so far from where we started 8 years ago because we are constantly looking at new things, listening to ideas, challenging things. When people say you should do something this way, why? And if they don't have a good answer, then we probably won't. Otherwise, other things people have said, oh, Bill, this is really interesting, and these are the reasons why I think you should do X, Y, Z. Okay, I'm all ears. Let me have a listen. Let me think about it. But again, just because they might be quite persuasive doesn't mean that I'm just going to say yes and go with it. So it's just, I thought it was quite a fun topic. It's not very serious. I don't think it's going to cause many people many problems if they don't follow huge amounts of this advice, but it potentially could be quite exciting if you do. So, in recap, we are in a situation now where we're being made to choose. It's not immediately obvious what's the best option. And I think that's a really good example of many of the decisions that we make in life. But the benefit in most of our other scenarios is there is a wider range of effective choice. Here, probably not many options for us, but in many of the other things we do, there's lots more things that we could be considering. And I just advocate doing that and giving it a go. All right, I hope that's made sense. I hope it's been useful. As always, we're always here to challenge your thinking, and if that's got your melon a little melted, then by all means reach out. I'm more than happy to chat about anything that I may have kicked off in your thinking through one of my episodes. Speak soon.